So this is a thread on FXV discussion that I wanted to talk about. It says, anyone else feel like mentality is not talked about as much as it should for hard content? Well, let's talk about it if it's not talked about as much. I'll give some background. Before I started going hard on Savage content, I had about a year of playing competitive Smash Bros. Online. One key difference I saw between here and there is the different approach to mentality. I often see a lot of mentality surrounding hard content that just wouldn't fly there. For example, if you get snapshotted by mechanics, sometimes you'll hear, "That's bullshit, I was out of that." Or, "That mechanic is way too tight." Both of these statements remind me heavily of, "That move is so OP." Or, "Bro, how did your move hit me?" I definitely feel like there's a bit of a gap where people aren't talking about the healthy mindsets required to prog a Savage or Ultimate. The fine balance, taking responsibility for every mistake you make, balanced with keeping confidence. Because you understand, an improvement is not a sprint, it's a marathon. If anything, I find it's actually so much easier to accept responsibility for mistakes in F14, since a mechanic might be tight as hell or awkward, but it's consistent every time. No, that's true. You're never gonna have the boss decide to randomly do a raid wide early, for example. Okay, so that's true, but are you really rated in FF14 if you don't get hit by something and at some point say that you were way out of that? It's just one of those things. You're gonna say it. You raid for long enough, you're gonna say it at one point. Keeping confidence on a mistake is really important. Yeah, it is good. You need to take responsibility for your mistakes. You need to be aware of what you did wrong. Pretty much anytime I ever do anything wrong in a raid, the first thing I ask myself, or anything goes wrong, not even something that I did personally, first thing I ask myself is, did I do that? Did I kill them? Like, when someone dies, my first thought is, did I kill them? Like, is there anything that I just did that resulted in this person dying? That is the first thing that pops in my head. If anything goes wrong, even if it happens on the other side of the arena, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could have done that. Like, I was over here doing the mechanic right, but was I? Not so sure. Like, I'm the first person to accuse myself of doing some shit wrong. Keeping confidence on a mistake is really important. You gotta have the accountability to yourself, and generally overlooked in a lot of statics, I'd say. In my opinion, it's most tilting when a mistake is made and there's very little confidence coming from the person to improve or fix that mistake. Something like oh well. Oh well. In a depressing tone. In a long lockout session. It's probably the thing to affect the team morale the most. I mean, it's hard to know what someone actually means when they say that, right? Because someone could say, oh well, and think, oh, maybe they're thinking to themselves, well, I'll do better next time. Or maybe they're thinking, oh, fuck it. I failed that time, I'll probably fail again. Don't care. You know, like, you don't really, it's hard to know what's going in someone's head. I'd take that person over what I've seen a lot in people who will whine or make offhand remarks the entire time they're dead, or have weakness, or don't get the damage buff over someone else because of it. Oh man, I hate it when people start whining. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. Also, laughter after making a mistake. No, it's not funny that you just died to the same thing for the third time in a row. I mean, it is, but I understand how it's frustrating if you're in the group with someone. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit nitpicky on the way that people react to their mistakes, because everybody is going to react differently to making a mistake. Like, everybody's different. And maybe someone will laugh. Maybe someone makes a mistake and maybe they laugh, but it doesn't mean that they're not also thinking to themselves, shit, I really wish, like, I didn't screw up on that and I'm going to try better. Like, you don't know that that's not what they're thinking. Like, people have all kinds of awkward reactions to doing something wrong in a public setting. It could be, you know, saying, oh, well, it could be laughing. It could be, whatever the guy said. Saying, oh, that's bullshit. I was way out of that. But you don't know what they're actually thinking. So I feel like nitpicking about that is a bit unneeded. The benefit, though, of being in a static is that you will quickly understand which people, where people stand on those things. Okay. Like, if you're in a static and you're raiding with the same people and it's not a party finder setting, but you get the same people in your group and you guys are raiding consistently together, you know, like, you get to know the people well enough to be able to tell if someone is actually wanting to improve and, like, take accountability for their mistakes and not continue to make the same mistake over and over, right? Because, I mean, there have been situations where, I mean, sometimes you will just have an off day, to be honest with you. Like, sometimes you're just gonna have a day where maybe you're tired, maybe you're distracted, maybe you got some other shit going on, and you just don't perform that well, or not perform as well as usual. In fact, there's gonna be some days even where the whole group doesn't perform that well. Everybody's off. I don't know why these days happen, but it happens. You have off days. And extending a little bit of grace to people is easier to do in a static than in a party finder situation where you don't know if people, like, even understand what they did wrong or do they even care? Like, do they want to improve? Do they care about, like, making the same mistake over and over? It is incredibly embarrassing to make the same mistake over and over, right? Like, I think there's probably, I don't know, I haven't spent a lot of time in party finders, so maybe I'm wrong, but to me, I feel like it's super embarrassing to die to the same thing like 3 or 4 times in a row. Like, if that happens, sometimes, like, you might have someone in the group who's like, hey, do you need a minute? Have you ever had that situation in a raid where someone in the voice chat is like, hey, are you good? Is there, or you hear the one that's like, hey, does anybody have any questions about, anybody here have any questions about the fight? Does anybody have anything that they need clearing up? It's silence. Okay, everybody good? Yeah. Yeah, we no one says anything. It's like, yeah, we all understand what to do. The problem is that we're not doing it. That's the... Which you know is directed at you, but you stay silent. Shame. Embarrassment. Do we need to redo clock spots? Yeah, like, I need to step away and get some water. Yeah, that's a good one. But like, whew, I need some fresh air. That's the thing. I appreciate the diffusers who laugh it off at least. Honestly, yeah, like, laughing it off can help. Like, having somebody to lighten the mood a little bit and get everybody less stressed out and tense. Like, 'cause there can be situations where it's really quiet. Someone has just asked in voice chat, does everybody understand? And it's super quiet, no one's saying anything. It's like incredibly tense. And I was just like it's hard to focus in a situation like that where you get so wound up that you can't even relax to the point you can perform well. It's nice to have someone who can, like, lighten the mood a little bit and laugh some. Then the 30-second timer along with any last minute tips. Any other call outs I can do? I deliberately play dumb when folk get passive aggressive. I'd rather someone just say something. I agree completely. GL Boss, like everything, there are times for jokes and a time to take responsibility. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it can be frustrating if the person, if there is someone who just will not take responsibility for the mistake that they made, it's not cool. It's not cool. Work to understand what you did wrong. Call yourself out and move on. Yep. It's very difficult for a lot of people to request help. And this isn't just true in Final Fantasy XIV, but like in a lot of different settings. It's very difficult for many people to ask questions, to ask for help, or just say that they don't understand something in any way. Like, I don't know why, but it's something that I learned as a teacher where usually there's a lot of kids that have a question about something and nobody wants to ask it. So I always said, hey, if you have a question, there's a really good chance that other people have the same question. Like, how many times have you been in a situation, even in a classroom, where like someone else, you have a question and you don't want to ask, but then someone else asks that question and you're like, whew, good. I'm glad. Now me, I'm really straightforward. I don't have any problem with that. I don't mind telling people that I don't understand something. Because I just don't like, I really don't like bullshit at all. I like to just cut straight to the point. Cut the crap. Let's understand what's going on. If I don't understand what's going on, I will tell you. So that we can just proceed. And not waste time, right? Lilac says, some people take these jokes as personal attacks. Even when the jokes already get spread out beforehand. I have a friend who will snap and yell at people for making any kind of joke. What? Even something that's just group wide. Like in Shin Extreme. Me and two friends were doing it. We all got launched. I made a joke about being knocked into oblivion. One of them snapped at me. Oh, it's not funny. Whoa. And I shouldn't attack her, even though it was all three of us. I think it's just some of that could be from someone being pretty nervous and pretty insecure. And it can be a snap reaction to immediately get super defensive if you're already feeling really insecure. So I'm not saying that it's cool to do that, but I think it's probably not that uncommon for people to do that. Yeah, it depends on context. Someone going, haha, oops, I died on Devour again would be infuriating. But if something actually funny happens, you're allowed to laugh. No, not allowed to have fun while raiding. Everyone knows, unless you're miserable at the end of your session, you're doing it wrong. If someone snapped at me for making a joke, I'd drop. I do this to have fun. I have a boss and a job if I want to feel bad. That's why it's so important to, I always encourage people to find a static. Because in a static, you can have an atmosphere that you like. Like, you can find a static that has an atmosphere you like. And different people like different things. Like, some people like it more serious. Some people like to be more lighthearted. I like a good balance between those things. You know, I want people to take it seriously enough that, like, we all respect each other's time. We all take accountability for the mistakes that we made. We all really want to do better and, like, understand what we did wrong. Try to improve. But at the same time, not be so stiff that you can't make a joke or even laugh when you die. Like, I think it's fine to laugh or say whatever you want when you die, as long as you, like, you have the understanding that you want to improve. But don't most people want to improve anyways? Like, who is out here dying and doesn't even want to improve at all? I guess there are people like that. It's just really hard for me to understand.